Welcome. Man, I'm ready. Hi, welcome. Good to see you. Good to be here with you. My name is Taka, and you have joined us for the Plunket Dad Chat, presented by Plunket, and I'm sure sponsored by Plunket. So thank you, Plunket. I'm going to let our awesome guys here kind of introduce themselves and let you know just a little bit about themselves and also how many kids they have. And we came up with a great idea before about maybe also letting you know a name that was in the running for one of our children that we didn't end up using. So we'll start here and we'll just go down.
G'day guys, my name's Jonny. Father to 3 beautiful little girls. One of the names that I definitely wasn't calling one of my daughters was Martha. And yeah. Sorry,
Martha, what's your
sorry,
name?
Martha's. My apologies.
Kia ora, I am Dion, and I've got 3 kids, 8. That's Harold, 6 Stanley, and Sylvie, who is almost 3. But Sylvie was almost Florence. Well, actually, she was Florence. We have some gifts that have been given to us for Florence. But Harold decided to do a PR offensive at school and put in the school notices that her name was Sylvie. So we ended up running with Sylvie.
Nice. Hey guys, I'm Tom, father of 2, so 9-year-old Princeton and almost 2-year-old Bobby. A name that was in the running for Princeton was actually Kobe. Reason because I'm a big basketball fan. The reason we didn't choose it was because one of my wife's friends named her daughter of her son Bob, Kobe, so it was a no-go after that.
Oh yeah, did you guys have that thing where you couldn't, like, maybe your partners knew about names but they couldn't have it because someone else had it already?
Yeah, so that was that.
Yeah. We were in a sweet spot. We kind of got ahead of most of our friends.
Okay.
So like all the names are kind of on the board, but you know, starting to get taken off. And you're like, can't do that. I'm like I said that I have one child's name is Zeke, and you may hear him around the place. He's here with us tonight, and so he's a good little dude. He's the man. So the theme of tonight is, in June it was Mental Health Month for men. I think it was Men's Mental Health Month, and so Plunket wanted to have a cool chance for just normal dads just to kind of have a chat about mental health and what that kind of relates to their lives and for us, and so that's what we're doing tonight. So I know Dion here is a bit of a mental health ninja, bit of an expert perhaps when it comes to mental health, and I'm sure we all had our own experiences with mental health and how that affects us. So that's kind of why we're here. We just kind of, a little behind the scenes. I know the person who's kind of organising this whole thing, so that's why I'm here. Not my own knowledge got me here, and you guys just got invited too.
Yes, I know that person as well. And then I know Jonny, so I invited Jonny along.
So here's your panel, experts ready to go. Hey, so before we get and dive right on in, one of the questions that I was kind of just wanting to know was, can you remember, or what's one of your very first memories from when your first child was born? That kind of initial feeling, or that kind of something that happened when you saw your child for the first time? What kind of went through your mind, or
Just usual, just overwhelmed, amazed, yeah. I can't describe it still. Yeah, try not to think about it too much. Quite mushy, but yeah, no. Yeah, best moment of my life. Yeah.
Not when the other one was born?
Oh, equal, love them all equally. Yeah. No, it's just me.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. I've never witnessed, I guess, I felt like the first time I'd ever witnessed such incredible bravery from a person. Watching Harold, and it wasn't Harold that was being brave, by the way, but watching Harold be born, and just being with Ruth in the labour, and it sort of blew my mind. And then I remember going around to a friend's house afterwards, and I think I was a bit sort of like elevated, you know, like on a bit of a buzz, talking fast, quite excitable, and my friends were like, okay, calm down. But yeah, it changed me in quite a significant way.
Yeah, for me, I've been a dad almost 10 years now, and we had our first son when we were teenagers, so we were 17, 18. And so that was, it's a big shock, big change in lifestyle. And similar to what Dion was saying, my wife went through a 30-hour labour, and then it was emergency C-section, so it was all pretty overwhelming and all whole new world, and pretty brave and pretty amazed by what a woman do, and
that was exactly me too. Like I was just like, whoa, Kate's a beast. Like I just wasn't in there. How is this happening? Like.
in a good way.
Yeah. So, she's a beast. Like, in the best possible way. We were just like really impressed and I think you view that person in a whole different way, right? And then what happened was the midwife, because so they'd really take care of Kate. She went through like a long labour as well, and the midwife just handed Zeke to me and said, "Put clothes on him." And I was, I never held, I haven't held a child when I'm doing it, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then luckily for me, Zeke's grandmother came over and helped out. Really cool to have like the whole family in there, right? And so that happens, first moment, and you obviously get started, and some things are exactly what you expect, and other things aren't. What's one thing about having a child or multiple children for you guys that you weren't kind of expecting being a father?
Something out of it?
Yeah, sure.
For me, one of the big things, I guess not about the child itself, but was the being a young parent, being first out of all my friends and anyone to have kids, was that social isolation. I've got a young son, I've got all my other friends out doing whatever, and it's a big change. They're inviting you out and everything, and you're just, oh no, I can't do that. I've got to stay home. I've got to look after my son, and you become a bit isolated and then you go to things like the music playgroups, all that sort of stuff, and you're the only dad there, and you're the only young person there, so it's pretty hard to try and fit in, So that for me was probably the biggest change, is that just being isolated and trying to find some similarities really.
Yeah, true.
Oh, well, I'd like to say I was a young dad, but I wasn't. And that's funny. It's strange because people like to, when they talk to me, some people I know, to always remind me that, older parents like you. It's like, okay, thanks very much. But probably 38 when, I got that right, 38 when Harold came along, and it's a different phase of life, and I think that's one of the interesting things there. It's like we were probably ready or over ready, and on the other hand, I think we've sort of coped with it pretty well, but I've seen lots of people who have children later, they're the sort of masters of their domain, they're sort of winning at work, or and then this creature comes along and upsets everything, upsets your status, and when you fit and all that sort of stuff. So whatever age children come along at, there's a really can be a really significant disruption to your sense of self, I think, and it's a big adjustment.
So you're kind of nodding along to that sense of self.
Yeah, definitely, and times too, just like identifying with a lot of those points, to be honest, bits and pieces, but for me, one thing I didn't really foresee was
Just what you think about that. I mean, we left the hospital. They said, okay, well, it's time for you to go. We went 2 nights. Did anyone ever go 2 nights? Because 2 nights is awesome. They give you 2, go for the second night. We left the hospital and we're like, we didn't know how to put him in the seat.
Oh my god!
And we took a photo on our phone of Harold. Who was just, we put it. I don't know. I probably shouldn't let Plunket know about this, but
No, it's all good.
we just like this. I don't know. It all seemed like I can't. We probably was slightly incorrect. It was safe, but we just didn't. We had no idea. We were really pretty clueless. And it was from that moment you go, oh no, it's just us. there's no one going to come out and tell us how to do everything.
Yeah.
I mean, later on, there's no shortage of those people, but yeah.
Actually, no, I might have remembered it now. So I didn't realise it was going to be. I mean, I knew it was going to be hard, but what I guess what I didn't realise is that a lot of parents we're out here winging it. It's like there's that end goal. The end goal's always moving. So as your child grows up and learning more and developing, the end goal's always moving. So I didn't realise how reactive and how often you'd have to react and change and adapt because they grow up so fast. I didn't realise how fast, and they get the whole age-old sayings, the flashes before your eyes, and it really does.
Yeah, totally. For me too, I think everything you said about like not having any idea how any of it works. So we stayed in the hospital one night. We went home again. We didn't know how to put the car seat properly. So what I did, and I was freaking out. They were running out of time to get out, and the thing was going to close on us. And okay, you take the baby. I'll meet you out. I'm going to drive the car. You walk the baby to the car. I was just giving birth. Like I'm going to get out of here. Totally just lost it. Had no cool left. Which was awesome. But then we went home, and that first night I had to call PlunketLine because we couldn't get him to settle, and I was like, "Is this normal? He's just crying and crying and crying. We don't know what to do." And the PlunketLine nurse was awesome. Like she just made me feel, and this isn't the Plunket, even though on Plunket's page, but it was just to actually be like, she was like, "Oh, it's totally fine. You're going to be okay. You're awesome." And I think those things you were talking about. Sometimes it was just needing to hear from someone who'd been through it. Yeah, that's normal and that's okay. I think it's been one of the coolest things now is having friends who are a little bit ahead of us or with their, in terms of age, and you're like, hey, is it normal when your kid just wants to eat soup? And they're like, yeah, ours did too. Trying to work through kind of what was normal and what wasn't. What were some of the things that, I know you talked about feeling isolation or the different things you guys talked about. What were some of the things that were helpful for you to kind of navigate some of those different areas or new things for you?
I was lucky enough that my biggest role model and idol was my dad, and I always growing up thinking, man, if I could just be like a fraction of him, I'll be happy. And so I always say to my partner, I always say that I find myself saying things and then stopping and pausing, thinking, I know I've heard that before, and so in a weird turnabout way, I'm becoming my father. But I'm not happy about it because there's the best role model, and that's along with my partner now. She's amazing, Rachel. She's a super mum, so she makes it also very easy. So I've got support. I've got support for days. I'm so lucky to have the support I do, friends and family. So I was probably lucky. I was definitely lucky. Yeah, for sure. So I had a great experience. Yeah.
Family support as well, definitely. Again, being young parents, I've sort of sponged off my mother-in-law for a while there, and she's repaid. She's given us so much, and I can't lost count of how much money we owe. But family support, both sides of the family have been awesome, and things like having a night out on a Saturday night when you need a bit of time. Nanny, grandparents are always there to help out, so we're really lucky, and we know how lucky we are. Yeah, awesome.
Well, I'd have to say knitwear was quite significant. Yeah. All this knitwear comes into your life, and if you can consider knitwear as an item of someone else's loving hands through generations. So I think for Ruth and I, having children, having babies in our lives connected us to a number of other generations in a way that previously we'd not been connected. And so, these old kind of aunts would come out, and, my my mother-in-law has a friend who's a nun in her 80s, and she knitted us stuff. I think Ruth had met her once, and you start to realise that there is a lot of love for children, and by association you get to experience that as well. I think that's quite special.
Yeah, that's awesome. If you're watching along and you just want to, I don't know, like it or leave a question or a comment if you just want to throw some general banter our way or somebody's way. Maybe take your friends out, whatever you want to do. We do have Tom and I'm sure our awesome producer Kate at the back there checking out what's going on. But so a little bit again behind the curtain, we only most of us kind of just met just before. One of the cool things that Jonny kind of dived into is your kind of journey with mental health and that experience for you. And so before we dive into that for us personally, why do you think, because I think generally guys, we aren't the best at maybe talking about how we're doing. I think generally women are probably, they're not much better at kind of sharing than I think we are sometimes. It's just general statement there. Why do you think we maybe don't always share as often or struggle to a little bit? Or maybe you don't have that experience. Maybe you're actually now a very different experience, and that's cool too.
I think it's historically it's hasn't been, for lack of better words, like socially acceptable for men or the bearer or the provider of the family to show vulnerability or weakness and that sort of thing. And I think it's just over the years of that same kind of behaviour and mindset, it builds that stigma, and then it's just hard to break. It's just a learned behaviour, and it's probably it's just, but it's not to say you can't break it,
I have a theory that predominantly in the Western world, where's 70 or so years from the Second World War, and I think it's actually interesting because you can't see this, but there's a memorial here to people whose lives were lost in the war, and I was very influenced by my grandfather, and I think, in New Zealand we commemorate these men who went away and died, but actually many came back whose lives were so affected by that experience, and that shaped the way that they bonded with their partners, and it shaped the way that they were fathers, and then it shaped the way that, I mean, you guys are a bit younger, but the next generation of fathers, it shaped that as well. So I think that had a tremendous impact on the way men interact with each other in New Zealand. Yeah.
Funny you say that. I've had very similar words come from my mum.
Okay.
Yeah, from talking about her grandfather and his grandfather. So yeah, that rings a bell for sure.
I mean, and in my work in mental health, I do also recognise whenever we speak to parents that most of the time everyone's doing the best that they can.
That's true.
And sometimes they're not coping, and they may not even be doing an effective job, but they're trying their hardest and need some help to do better. So I think I look back at my parents and just think about the parenting in the 70s when you had no seatbelts and everyone sat in the back of the station wagon and smoked in the car, and it was also pretty crazy. But I also think they were doing the best that they could back then. So I often keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tom?
That old school, I think, mentality, like we hear at a rugby club, and that whole rugby mentality, just toughen up, just just get over it, move on. I'm not the best at it either. Ask my wife; she'll tell you I'm the worst communicator in the world. So it is something that is through the generation, like you're saying, it's sort of passed on. I guess it opens the door to we know about it. So let's try and start the conversation and change things.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of the key for us going forward, is kind of, because obviously I think we're all in agreement that, like, for the future and for our kids, or for us as men and other fathers who hopefully are tuning in now, it would be awesome, right, if we could have vulnerability and openness that you were talking about, actually talk about everything, and anything, I guess, that's been helpful for yourself to kind of try and talk a bit more, or anything in particular that's maybe stopped you from trying to take that step that may be helpful?
I've got to keep it going again first. For me, it took me, like I was saying earlier, it took me a long time to get to this point, but now I'm more than happy to share my experiences and my mistakes and my troubles and what I've learned. always say that, you know, I'm no expert, but this is what's worked for me. Sorry, what was the question?
So why don't you just talk about some of the things that you have gone through?
Oh yeah, I get a lot of strength and I get a lot of respect, and people seem to listen from me sharing my vulnerabilities. So I talk a lot about my anxiety and depression because not a lot of people my age, especially my age, do, in my position do. And it's weird up here, like I said, I've gained a lot of respect from my peers and people from showing that, you know, because people that know me too, that I might be mushy and vulnerable here and there, but also like I'm not a pushover. And so I think it's important to show that you can have both. And so that's worked really well for me. Yeah, so yeah, I don't shy away from the subject. I'm happy to talk about it. I'm just trying to change the mindset, change that stigma. So,
do you remember the first time you talked about it openly?
Yeah, I remember, like I was saying again earlier, I've knowingly been on this mental health journey for about 10 years now. I found out just after I left school in 2009. And I remember getting a text message from my friend. I hadn't told anyone. I've been to the doctor and got my diagnosis and stuff, and he said, "No, you're chronically anxious and chronically depressed." I told no one except for my parents. And my mum, being my mum, told my second mum, which is my best mate's mum. And she told my best mate, and I get this message from him saying, you don't have to pretend anymore, bro.
Oh, wow.
And that was a massive, like, I'll never forget that. Yeah, that was like a turning point in me. I was like, okay, I don't have to hide this anymore.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that was a huge turning point for me. Yeah.
Man, that's huge.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, you don't have to pretend anymore. Fuck, that's
No,
powerful.
yeah, it was. So it still rings true for me today. Yeah, so that's me.
Well, that's so cool. What about you two? Your kind of journey with mental health for yourself or someone else, or just?
Yeah, it's something that hits home for me as well. So I lost my father. He had his own demons. He was battling, battled with depression. Eventually took his own life. And so I've sort of seen the effects of depression and suicide on a family and how that can pan out. And then myself on my own journey, you know, I'm on antidepressants. I get anxious, and I'm probably not as far along as that, and when you just start to open up and talk about it. So, you know, giving those opportunities, these things, just giving the opportunity for people to speak out is, I think, the starting point. And yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I work in the field of mental health and mental illness, and I think I've been lucky enough not to have been tremendously affected. You know, I've had periods of life where I've been a bit anxious or a bit low. You know, there was one season in my life where I went and got some counselling, but generally I work in an area where there's lots of talking, lots of therapy. You know, it's like the freebies of your workplace. You know, lots of reflection. Not that anyone who works in mental health is immune from it, but perhaps one of the reasons why I work in mental health is because I have been very influenced by my own family story. My grandmother took her own life. I never knew her, you know, and when my mum was very young, you know, it was sort of a family story that I can see ripple through the generations, and I can see the effect that it had on my grandfather and my mum, and even on my brothers and I. So, you know, for me, it's always been a curiosity to me about how we maintain this thing called mental well-being and mental health. And yeah, it's interesting to hear your experience of feeling stigmatized and ashamed about that. And I think most people feel that.
Yeah, exactly.
And guys, yeah, they perhaps don't have anywhere to talk about it so easily. Yeah.
Because I think that because when it was last month, Men's Mental Health Month, like I was looking at some of the stats and I was saying like 1 in 10 men will have like close friends that they regularly talk to, but women have like far more. And so what happens is then I don't share, so then I think I'm the only one walking through something, and I don't realize that there's actually lots of other guys who are going through a similar thing. And then you're just trying to work it out by yourself, and you're like, oh no, I'll just push through, I'll figure it out, I've got it under control, I know the answer to something that you don't. So I hadn't really experienced any kind of I had such an amazing kind of head start to life and just the family I was blessed with and everything else. But it was actually when Zeke came along that I kind of first started to feel any type of anxiety. Like I'd never really felt it. And he was born and he was awesome. My wife was amazing. And I think at that stage, you just kind of try and be the strong, I tried to be like the strong pillar of the house so that when Kate was walking through something and Zeke was upset, I was like, well, I'll be solid.
Yep.
But I felt like I could only do that for so long.
Yep.
And then what happened was like a few months in, I just got massively just anxious about things that I'd never felt any anxiety before. So like really comfortable to kind of talk to people and be engaging with people. And I literally couldn't look people in the eyes anymore. Like I'd walk up to people and just kind of have these weird interactions where I'd be trying to avoid and mumble my way out of conversations. I could be like, hey Tom, yeah, and try and leave because I was just like riddled with this anxiety and anxiousness. And it took me a long time to be able to share because I didn't know what was happening to me. I thought it was normal. I was like, oh, well, I guess this is just who I am now. I'm just a guy who's anxious and I can't look at people in the eye, even though I used to be able to. And it's amazing how you kind of can almost trick yourself, almost feel like, oh, well, that's the way it is now forever.
You tell yourself something long enough, you start believing it. So that's kind of the whole idea around it, right? Yeah. No matter how crazy it is.
Yeah, right. No matter how insane you might feel or think, so that's not right, but you begin to live that out. I think that's really cool. Just for us even talking about it here. Any bit of helpful something or that we could maybe to help people out there who maybe haven't talked about their mental health with someone, or something that a bit of encouragement or something that you could say that maybe help them take that step.
Can I explain a little bit about what we might do in our workplace? It's an interesting idea, this idea of mental illness and mental health. I mean, we talk about mental health, but often we're talking about when our health is compromised, and there are some problems about how we deal with an illness because it's kind of different than some illnesses. But something about your brain is different and it's working differently than it does normally for you. And when we see someone, we try to find out who are they normally to their friends and family. What are they normally like? What's a baseline for them? And we do a mental status assessment. So I think about the time that I was like really excited and a little bit high when Harold was born. I would go around my friend's house and talking fast. So we meet someone we look at how they are in that situation to us and how they are normally. And it's all things like, what anxiety does to people, what low mood does to people, slows them down, makes them sort of, avoidant or whakama and all that sort of stuff. And then we try and figure out with them who they want to be again and where they want to be. And it's, it's a combination of not just medications. So, medications are really useful, but really only if you've got a good, effective relationship with your doctor. And you kind of come up with a plan around all the things that are stressing you out. So if you're a new dad and you've got a core belief that says, I have to be strong all the time, well, that core belief is probably not serving you very well in the long run, Or you've got a core belief that men can't be vulnerable, that may not be serving you. So in counselling and therapy, you might work that stuff out. But it also might be like, get a good sleep. And learn how to distribute the tasks differently. I say this, but my wife's at home. Hi, Ruth. Thank you. How to lighten the workload and all the things that are stressing you, because we can only withstand so much stress. Could be substances that are actually stressing you. Like you might turn to substances to relax. And on the other hand, there's a kind of rebound effect that actually creates greater stressor in your brain and in your biochemical system in your body. So, really working with someone to identify stressors and things that can decrease that and increase their strengths as well is a big part of how we would work.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what about you two kind of personally in your life then kind of dealing with some of those things?
I can back up exactly what Dion's just said because I've been going through the same thing recently. But my biggest, or two like key tips that work really well for me is Dion mentioned to work on the basics. So the basics for me are sleep as much as you can, exercise as much as you can, laugh as much as you can. And these are things like, I play rugby, and that's my thing, that's my outlet. Saturday, I'm going to be a different person than I am the rest of the week. And get everything out. Physically, it makes you feel better too, and all the chemical, endorphins and stuff that are released. Eating well, dealing with problems as they arise rather than keeping very angry. Just doing the basics. I call it the basics because it lays the foundation for everything else.
Yeah.
And another probably my biggest learning over the last 10 or so years is this idea of true happiness is really just it's a myth. There's no such thing as true happiness.
Wow.
I read some excerpts from this book. I can't remember the guy's name, but it's called The Happiness Trap.
Yep.
And he pretty much describes how true happiness is a trap because there is no such thing as stress-free. There's always going to be stresses. That's how you deal with those ideas and how you deal with these things. True happiness, no troubles, unattainable. People are chasing something you can't get. And I think that's a big issue in today's world. There's flashy things on TV and the biggest house. People are consumed by these material things. But just look after yourself, basics, and
And that's interesting because when kids come along, your values change as well.
Huge.
So, true happiness was a value that in the long run didn't serve you very well. We might have to reevaluate what's valuable and important to us. And that's a really, there's some therapies like, one's called ACT therapy, which is not like about David Seymour. It's acceptance and commitment therapy. And it's got a really good evidence base, and lots of psychologists are trained in it and do it. And it's about working on helping a person identify their values, and what, because people have what they think their values are, and until they take some time to reflect and realize they're not serving them. They have a value of masculine, being a man means this, or being, or that, and until they find out actually it's more important to, I don't know,
talk about
your feelings. That's right.
I'm becoming a shell than I was. By
or being strong means talking about your feelings and those sorts of things. Absolutely.
Yeah, for me, similar to what you're saying, Jonny. For me, finding things that I can find my outlet. So rugby again is something for me. Sport, any sport, just being physical and.
We get it, Tommy. Yes, it really is.
When you're on their fatherhood grind every Monday to Friday and just working and the weekend, but just Monday to Friday, you got in the morning, get the kids ready, go to work, pick up the kids from school. You got after school sports, all that sort of stuff. You just can go through the processes and you can sort of forget about you can forget about the other stuff that's going on in your head and whatever else is going on in life, and because you can just go through the processes and forget about it all. But what I've found is when I have time to think, that's when things can get not too good. When you're by yourself and your mind can just go and go and go. So finding things that sort of sidetrack him, but healthy sidetrack him, because you're saying things like. You can use things like drugs and alcohol. That's a bit of a bandage type thing, and so there's time and place. But in the long run, you find those positive things that you can do that bring you joy and bring you can help. So that's me. And
you negotiate those with your partner, right? So she gets her ones as well. That's a balancing act, and it's also, I reckon, that's one of those things is accepting that you don't always get what you want,
Exactly.
And coping with disappointment. That's
exactly.
I don't know if I've ever seen my wife smile so much when you just talked about you got to make sure you. When you see Kayla.
I think in my observation, it's an interesting thing about men is they get a lot of play time. I think men get a lot of play time.
I think you're right,
and like mates play golf and do this and do that or surf and I mean, I don't know many men who are in book clubs and go to yoga, by the way, but, you know, I saw there is a broga.
Yeah, they do a broga down there.
Yes.
Thursday
One
night.
of our mates put it together.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's, to me, that's like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of a constructive masculinity, eh? But, you know, we have to kind of make some choices about our recreation time, look after ourselves, but also look after our family as well. Because also, then there's stress around conflict, around who's getting relaxation and rest, and then we have to figure that
The conversation we've had.
Yeah, it's a
bit touchy subject there.
so having effective ways to deal with conflict and skills, like I reckon that's a really important mental health hack, is knowing how to have hard conversations when you're feeling injured or self-pitying or something, how to have a hard conversation. I'm not saying that I'm perfect at it by any means. But you know, they're really good mental health hacks, and having also an awareness, like you guys all seem to have a really good awareness about how you were fathered and the impact of that, and how you want to be or don't want to be as a result of your own parents. They affect our core beliefs so much.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome. So I guess I think our time's ticking along, but I think I just want to ask then. So for you guys, being kind of stuff we've talked about, what would you like to see? I guess some of the things that begin to define. Such a big question, but kind of define like what a man is going forward. Like in the past, it's always been. The things that kind of were like, oh, if you're a man, you're this. What, and those words that we could say, oh, you're out making money, you're doing da-da-da, you're solid, you're the strong one, which means you don't talk about anything and you just blah, blah. Going forward, what would be, I guess, maybe some of your hopes for what being a man or being masculine going forward could be, that maybe isn't some of the things you normally think of now? Like, I'll give you a minute if you need it. For dads. Yeah, for dads, yeah.
I guess I think about that. I'm thinking about my son, like what, because kids copy everything, they see, they do what they see, not what we say, that sort of thing. And what would you want him to be like? You don't want him to struggle and bottle things up and be afraid to talk and everything. So you want to be able to role model those sort of things so that they feel comfortable to go do the same thing. Just what would you want your children to be like? Really?
I have a pet subject about the idea of, we've probably often hear the term toxic masculinity, and because I work with young guys, quite a lot of young guys, and I think sometimes what they might hear as masculinity is toxic. True. And I think men have to come up with a really good case to demonstrate and show the positive elements of masculinity and fatherhood. And it's different. It's very diverse and variable, but it means something. And I think that we're at a sort of time where that might get defined differently. Maybe Clark Gayford, you can sort it out for us. But I think for me, becoming a father has been so formative and sort of figuring out a form of masculinity, even though I don't play rugby.
For me, I think just what a man should be is a man does do what he needs to do, and it's not about different gender-based roles or anything. They just do whatever they've got to do, and whether that's cooking the dinner, doing the dishes, doing the laundry, going out and earning some money, or staying at home looking after the kids while their partners off work. It's just whatever a man needs to. He does what he needs to do, not what he wants to do.
Being a team player. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, with me and my partner, I think we're the best team. We work so well together. We play to our strengths, but I couldn't do it without her. She couldn't do it without me. And we both know it, So Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that's what me and my wife try to do. Like, I'm a bit of a WWE guy, and so because I do it, so we married, so we spend off all the time together. So we made it like we were like a tag team, and so we just had me to tag out, you tag in.
Yeah.
And so when Zeke was born, like a year in once, or even earlier, once Kate went back to work, I went part time, so we could both kind of share the role. And it was amazing to see the people who were really cool with that. But there was a bit of like, why are you doing that? That's not what a guy should do. And it's just almost choosing to go. We're going to almost not redefine, but for ourselves, we're going to define what that role in this relationship is, and whatever people want to, how they want to define in their relationship. But for us, it worked to do that. And I think all of us is serving one another to make it the best it can be.
Can I give a website a plug?
Please.
We might need to validate it in the comments. I think it's greatfathers.co.nz. It just was recommended to me by a colleague. I just had a look at it, and it's all that sort of stuff that you're talking about, and just a lot of ideas about fatherhood explored, and sort of graphic comic, and greatfathers.co.nz.
Greatfathers.co.nz. So are we gonna wrap this back way up? So just maybe for each of us, just one maybe. Down goes my son. He's good though, not in a bad way. You can't see him actually. It's really, you can't see. Maybe just one bit of encouragement for any dad out there who's starting mental health journey, or who's far along in it. What's maybe one thing you just want to leave them with?
Just in terms of parenting, I mean, we're all out here doing our best. There's no guidelines. There's no two cases the same. Just look at it, just keep going. Don't give up.
I think it's just a really fulfilling part of life that makes you, transforms people. So embrace it and hold on for the ride.
And you just enjoy every stage. I've got a 9-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter, and my son's just real into NBA at the moment. I'm loving it. He's wanting to play basketball all the time. He's watching all the shows I want to watch. And then my daughter, she's almost 2, and she's the cutest little thing in the world. So enjoy every stage, and it'll go by fast, like they say.
That's great. Hey, thanks to you guys, and thanks to everyone who's tuned in for a little bit or for the whole thing tonight. Hey, hopefully we'll see you again sometime. If you loved it, you should let Plunket know, and then they'll let us come back, and that'd be the best thing ever, wouldn't it? So hey, thanks so much, and see you later.
Thanks very much.
You guys.
Cheers.